Who's Black? Welcome back. How are you?
Oh, yeah, I'm back again. So, you really do have to find new people because, quite frankly, at some point you're going to get bored of me. But
I don't
I'm
think
very
so.
happy to be here. I'm a little tired, quite a lot of jet lag. And thank you for asking how I was. Thanks, Tess. And all in
Lewis,
all,
I have an idea for you. What
yes.
about I do the presentation and you change the slides?
Why? I mean, really, I always put new slides in. You've just got to be very, you've got to look.
Exactly. So it's always interesting. That's the
Always
point.
something new coming along. I know what everyone's asking because believe it or not, I hear from many shareholders who follow blogs, and so I know pretty much what everybody wants to know and what they would like to understand. And I'm here to try and help as best I can without, disturbing my strategy too much. So let me begin. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to be here. My name is Lewis Black from Almonty. And I would like to say that unfortunately in the world, demand for tungsten is strong. And I say unfortunately because it's linked in part to some of the defense issues that the entire planet is now engaged in. But we will talk about this a little bit later. Basically, we have been around for a long time. We are the last man standing, really. I mean, we've done the past 10 years. We've put together, I think, a fantastic portfolio of assets. I think that we've demonstrated with our track record that we know how to make money in tungsten, both in production and in exit. Yes, our share price is extremely disappointing as the second largest shareholder overall. I'm the largest shareholder, but as the major shareholder, I'm very disappointed with what I'm seeing. But I'm also aware of what's going on. And if that person is watching, you can't stop a rising tide. So, you can carry this on as long as you think you can, but our liquidity is incredibly good for a junior. And at some point, it's not going to work. I am a great believer in the truth will set you free, and our progress will dwarf any shenanigans that certain individuals think they can carry on right now. So Panasquera, still making money, 136 years in. And as we said, we'll know, I think actually I've been told it's 8 or 10 weeks time, we'll have the final decision from the EU regarding level 4. So KPMG is doing all the work, which is the approved agency by the EU. Feelings are good. We feel good that we're going to be successful. No reason why we wouldn't be. Tungsten is right at the top of the list of the EU. We fit all the criteria. We have a track record. We've been around a long time, and we are one of only 3 metallic mines in Portugal. I think the stars are lining up on that one for us. So I don't want to tempt Providence, but I'm feeling good. I'm going to pass by Samdong. Valtrashal, we got some good news. We have next week the final call with the Environment Department to answer some of their questions, but it's verbal. And on the conclusion of that, we should then be able to move to permitting. I've already started speaking to engineering companies about what kind of brain damage it's going to be to take my plant from Los Santos to Valtrashal. So I think that was unexpected. I was not expecting this to have occurred right now. I was thinking more towards the end of this year, beginning of 24, I mean 25. It's permitting in Spain is not the easiest, but we've been at it a long time. We've done a good job. And again, as I said earlier, you can't stop a rising tide. Tungsten is important. Korea, we'll talk about in a second. As I briefly mentioned, Panasquera is still in full swing. Level 4 is now a key part of our ongoing strategy. And I feel quietly confident, just as I felt quietly confident about procuring the right financing for Samdong, that we will be successful in procuring the right levels of debt and subsidies to open up level 4 in expedited fashion. Samdong construction, I know it's always there. We'll talk about it in a bit. And Voucher as I said, it was unexpected news. I was pleasantly surprised. I can finally find a home for my Los Santos plant. I will leave parts in Los Santos to do the tailing still. I don't need everything in Voucher, but certainly now to start the planning to move that plant is great news. And there is certainly good appetite within the EU for EU produced material. There's no doubt about that. As I said, we've proven track record. We are, unfortunately, appears the only company right now who makes money in their mines consistently. We have exited successfully in the past and made obviously great returns for our shareholders, including myself and Dan D'Amato, my business partner. We have secured extraordinary terms for a junior mining company in terms of financing of Samdong. We have continued support of our major shareholders. Yes, that's right, all of them. And although, you know, one of them could be a little bit more supportive, but I understand, but they're not against us. They could be a little bit more supportive. And our debt lenders, most importantly. We are diversified in the sense that we operate in multiple democratic jurisdictions. We have complete transparency. As we said, we have 2 near-term growth stories emanating out of Portugal and out of Korea. We receive a premium on the Portuguese material because, well, it's the cleanest and highest grade you can buy. It's extremely homogeneous. I mean, it's the Rolls Royce, but it took them decades to get to that point. Let's not remember that we didn't do this overnight. So after 136 years of mining, you tend to get pretty good at doing something. We have been hitting all of our milestones, which is important. And we offer a great strategic alternative to Western consumers of tungsten. And yeah, we're one of the largest producers, but you know, everyone uses that word now, and whether it means anything or not, you know, no one can believe who to believe. But bear in mind, Samdong is the king dog, and nothing is going to knock that off its pedestal. Level 4, yes, we're well advanced. As we said, we had a visit of the US government, but the EU have sort of, you know, it's election year in the US. A lot of attention has been sort of taken away from many things in the US, not just diversification of supply chains, but the EU have stepped into the breach and have continued to develop this along with KPMG. In terms of I know one of the questions I've been asked by shareholders about the 7th drawdown. I'll just give you a little background. The 7th and 8th drawdown are due imminently, but we had to, as we said in our financials, we just released at the end of year, we've refied the UniCredit notes with a KfW loan, and we've just recently just closed KfW loan. We had to do one and then follow with the drawdowns, but we still have over 10 million US in the bank in Korea. It's not put any delays on what's going on. But I think that was something I brought up before that was imminent, but I didn't realize at the time that apparently with banks, and you're dealing with the same team, you have to finish one thing and then go to the next. So the good news is that they will be announced shortly. The tungsten market. Well, price is pretty good right now. It rose over the last couple of weeks. A little bit of funny business on the high price last week on the LMB, but that will iron itself out. It's being driven by a number of factors. Some of them I know about, some of them I don't. The ones I don't know is I don't know what's going on in China. I know that there's been an enormous amount of imports from non-Chinese sources into China of concentrates. Predominantly from Australia and from Europe. I don't know why China is buying so aggressively, but I know that they brought in January and February 2,200 tons of concentrate, which if you carry on that sort of level, means that almost 25% or 22% of the world's production is going to be imported into China during this year. And I don't know why. It's a mystery to me. There's lots of speculation. It could be all this new, copper tungsten wire they're using in all the semiconductors. It could be, I don't know. I would just be guessing. But the statistics are showing a dramatic shift on China's approach to procurement. Geopolitical tension isn't gotten any less since we last spoke. I think we can safely say that, if anything, it's escalated. We are seeing significant demand regarding defense. But as I briefly mentioned just a moment ago, this tungsten copper wire is now the go-to product for manufacturing of semiconductors, because it can be contained within these semiconductors at a much thinner level than traditional silicon or carbon copper composites in their wiring. So this is a new area that has certainly seen dramatic growth in the last 12 months. Electric cars, plateauing. I think we spoke about this briefly. Yes, we've had a benefit from it, but we're seeing a transition more into hybrids, which of course is even better for tungsten. You use more tungsten currently in a hybrid than you do in a regular gasoline car. So this I'm happy with. Of course, in the semiconductors, we're using it in the tungsten hexafluoride gas and in the tungsten copper wire. So I'm happy with that. And the military tension, which I'm not, I'm a fairly, people who know me, I'm a relatively peaceful person, unless you're a contractor, and then I'm not so peaceful, but I'm a peaceful person. And I would like to see the world calm a little, but it doesn't get away from the fact that we have a product, a metal that is absolutely essential to strengthening defense for all countries, not just for Western countries. Every single nation that is pursuing a process of peace and defense, they require tungsten. There are always new elements. Tungsten's a very strange metal. It's considered an alien metal. Its properties are quite unique. There's nothing else that's around like it, and it's a declining resource. There's less of it in the world, and you're having to target lower grades assets to be able to produce. And I think what we're seeing is there's no let up in the uses of tungsten. And I think that that's very important to put in your minds. We are a small cog on a big wheel, but without the cog, the wheel doesn't turn. And I think much of the market is now starting to understand that if you took tungsten out of existence, what manufacturing or technologies would it actually exist as efficiently as they do now? Well, fusion, every sort of month or so, we read about a new record made within fusion. Recently, they've just kept the actual process running for, I think, 125 seconds or something in Korea, because, it's a multi-year, and Korea is very much involved in this fusion reactor. And ITER is I believe, is being commissioned this year in France. This is a long-term outlook, but it ticks every green box that exists. It's almost limitless energy, very cheap to produce, absolutely dependent on tungsten. This is for the future, but the future, as we know, comes very quickly. So I think it's now, I think it's important that people are aware of what we're going to contribute as a tungsten producer to this future. This was the tungsten copper wire I was talking about. This is really seen, I think, is what's driving the demand in China. China are the leaders in this wire. And maybe this is one of the reasons why they're so voraciously consuming, tungsten that doesn't come from their own domestic sources. You can also speculate, are the mines slowing up? Are the subsidies being reduced? Is that why we're seeing the price move? Because ultimately, without those subsidies in China, you're going to see a normalization of price. I don't know. That's all speculation. But I do know that these products are now consuming a lot of tungsten. And again, and this will all be available on I think there are a lot of more established uses of tungsten that we're seeing very much come to the forefront. And I think it's very important to remember, we are a small cog, but we're an essential one. It's a tight market. China and Russia dominate this. a little bit in Vietnam, a little bit in Australia, a little bit in Europe. That's pretty much it. Again, worth remembering that the tungsten consumers are based in the US, the EU, Japan, and South Korea. And that's it in the West. And of course, Russia and China. So I think it's a very centralized focus of domination that two countries have. And I think that anything that exists outside of that has a very viable future. Sam done. Oopsie daisy. That shouldn't have been there. Everything is going according to schedule. I think someone brought up Google Earth to me. When the next lot of satellites pass, I think you'll be able to see from the sky what you want, what you're looking for. But we have not changed our outlook. We are proceeding. Hatch, the independent engineer of the bank, has been there recently. And to be honest, the trip went even better than I thought. They reported to the bank this was the happiest they've been. And we know that because they finished on their last night getting drunk and doing karaoke, which they've never done before, and shows that they have a view that they feel comfortable and confident in our team, in our approach, and in our progress. And I think that's important. I know it's frustrating that we're not doing as all juniors, showing, flashing, all of our, visual successes. But we are not building in a mining jurisdiction. We have always been at the mercy of NGOs in any jurisdiction we work in. And I would rather, as I've said before, discretion is the better word of valor. As the Korean government has said, be like a submarine. Let's get it built. We have a good liaison with local governments and with national governments. They have continued to be extremely supportive, to a point where they're now really pushing on this downstream, which of course is again something we're going to discuss the progress we're making on that. But in terms of what we're doing in Korea, bear with me. Let me get rid of a certain person that's making a little trouble for all of us on our stock. And once that's gone, then I think I'll be especially more comfortable in lifting my kimono, as they say. But materially, we're still on side, so we're not in violation of any regulatory rules. Progress is continuing as contemplated, as per our plan. I think all the partners in this are well known to everyone on this call: Plant C, GDP, KfW, and OAKB. And I think the size of this project, it's unique, as I've always said. How unique it is, you'll see when it opens. But as I said, we've been running pilot plants now in 2 different jurisdictions for the best part of 3 years. I have so much ore on surface, I don't know what to do with it. So I don't have any issues in that. The mine underground continues. As I said, phase 1 will be completed in September. We will then seamlessly move to phase 2. So the equipment will still stay underground and continue. And I think I'm happy with community support. I'd like a bit more space at site. It's a bit cramped, but it is what it is. I'm cramped in Europe too. But all in all, I'm happy with progress. As you see, I know everyone's looking at this. No change. Please, bear with me. All will be revealed. Downstream, yes, we have a site. We have a location now, which is great. And so the various, governmental permits that have to be done by the government to categorize this as a development site are now underway. So we have a site, and we have also a visit of our lead engineering group out of Austria, who will be working on this project. They're the ones who are designing it and will be supervising the build of this equipment in Europe, and they're actually coming to site in May 16th, I believe, but in and around May, I think mid-May. So I think we are now moving good progress ahead. The moly, I am actually going to release a dedicated presentation to the moly. The moly is far more important. I didn't realize how important it was. mean, I knew it was a good deposit, high grade, unique, because there's very little, there's a moly mine in the US, but it's running at a quarter of this grade. I didn't realize the value in this, the real value in this. And since interacting with consumers in Korea, I understand that this really is, this is our cream as shareholders. This is a real win for us. So I've applied for my subsidies for the drilling to be completed, and if not, I'll have to scrape together the money. I need to convert some of my inferred into measured and indicated, so I can then pin down a consumer who can quite happily take all of this and a much more moly. And I'm looking now how to internally have a dedicated team to focus on this moly, because it's worth a great deal to us. And I think we can really monetize this asset to our benefit. We are fully permitted for the moly. It's adjacent. Well, it's 150 meters away from Samdong mine, which is not. The ore body is in every direction. So we don't really even understand how big it is, but we have a very good sense of grade and current identified size. It's amongst one of the highest grades observed. It's a standalone mine. We have a location for it. You won't know these two are even connected when it's built, because one will be on one side of the hill and one will be on the other. And there's an enormous amount of savings when you already have existing infrastructure that you can use underground. What are we going to do? We're going to spin it out to separate entity, a strategic cornerstone investor, grow it through cash flow of Samdong, joint venture. We as I said, I'm putting together a team whose sole job it is going to look at this and find out how to maximize the monetary value. It's a big deposit. It's high grade. We can't find anything similar outside of, outside of us that exists. Normally it's a byproduct from copper production, but as copper has now under ESG gone further underground, it's producing less moly as a byproduct, which has put a squeeze, which is why the price of moly has remained stubbornly high. It's financially, it's very good for us. Panascara. Panascara. I'm going to finish up in a couple of minutes for any questions, but she's still going well. She's still going strong. She's still making us money. She's never going to make us rich, but she's never going to cost us money to keep. And she's the center of our knowledge. We are able to do what we do because of this mine. That picture you see in the lower right, my lower right, is why we've been able to build Samdong, why we have confidence that when we open, it'll work as planned, why we're going to be able to build Samdong efficiently, why Valtrauchau we're going to be able to move the plant. We have this knowledge of 136 years. Don't underestimate. It's a word that's used very little now because, everyone, we've made so many tasks so simple. Why do you need experience? You have AI, but experience counts, especially in mining, very much so. And I think this mine has given us that opportunity to really grow the company, making far many less mistakes than perhaps we would have had we not had that access to that knowledge. We will open level 4. There's no doubt about it. And that will give us another 40 to 50 years. And I think with opening level 4, as we've always seen in the past, the first 20 odd years, we get a huge increase in grade and therefore a huge increase in margin. Financially, we'll make more money. It's not going to make us rich, but it'll make us, a lot more money than we currently make. So I think this is certainly something which we will continue forward with. And again, it's considered the best in the business, and for good reason. They've done it a long time and they're very good at what they do. And I think we've seen these slides before, but it's a well-trodden, well-matured project. So, corporate. Well, we've got a lot of reserves. So I'm going to quickly skip through this because I know you want to get to the questions. We've got more reserves than we know what to do with. They're all in safe jurisdictions. They're all accessible and they're all economic. And we all know Samdong opens, we hit the jackpot. Credit principles. We're so ESG compliant. We are in the top percentile in the world according to KfW. And we've done it with still remaining commercially viable. And I'm very proud of that because They said it couldn't be done. And we've done it. There's another milestone that we've met. So on that point, let me hand over to our moderators and see if there's any questions.
Thank you. There are, as always, few questions in the chat. So first
Ask me
of
the
all,
nice ones. The nice ones.
I don't choose and pick. I just go randomly.
All right. Okay, I'm ready. I'm sitting down.
So what are the estimated total costs for the operations in Korea, including depreciation and all other expenses beyond the planned $110 MTU cash costs?
I've always maintained that our unit cost is going to be $125 per MTU. I was corrected by Hatch, who said, no, it's going to be 110. But I'm going to err still on my side of caution by saying it's 125. And it's really very simple to understand why. A combination of grade, tramming distance, and longevity. I'm moving 640,000 tons in phase 1 a year. This is less than I move in Panascara and slightly more than I used to move in Los Santos. But I'm working with a grade that is 2.5 times Panascara and 1.7 times higher than Los Santos. I've got a good sense of unit cost. I know what it cost me in Panascara. I know what it cost me or used to cost me in Los Santos. So I believe my number is pretty much on the money.
And last time you expected a partner for Molly in autumn. Did you make any progress here?
Yes, I did. We did. And it's a discussion that is intense, long, and ultimately will be beautiful if we get what we want, which I believe we will, because we have something that others don't have. But we're not being pigs. It's very important to remember that. We're not going to have a Yahoo moment. We are going to do things that maximizes value for our shareholders. And that is the reason I get out of bed in the morning. It's not to say I'm the king of tungsten. It's not to say we're the biggest, baddest dog on the block. It's because I am a huge shareholder and I get paid when my shareholders get paid. So that's what drives me.
And
I keep putting money in the company. I keep my own money in. I participate in every race. So, you know, I think my alignment is with the guys who are watching this right now.
And how can we ensure that Panascara receives the recognition that it deserves, regardless of the time it takes? Additionally, how can we encourage Korea to follow suit? And yeah, thank you for the insight.
Panascara is always going to be overshadowed by Samdong because Samdong is what Panascara was 40 years ago. But at the same time, those in the industry know Panascara. They know the Portuguese asset. They know what she is. And you know, everyone around in our industry, in China, in every jurisdiction, Panascara is the one mine they all want to visit. If you ask, you can only visit one mine, which one it's going to be, they'd want to come to Panascara. And I think that says volumes about that mine.
Excellent. So looking at the time, I don't think we have more time left for another question. Luis, it was a pleasure as always.
Thanks, Matthias. Thank you very much. And thank everyone for their support now, Monty.